Again, a fantastic question. What went wrong? Well, between 2005 and the end of last year, 2008, gambling revenues in Las Vegas, effectively the lifeblood of the city, dropped by some 15%. Real estate prices dropped by some 55%, I'm very sorry, in the affected parts of town. And as a result, Mr. Eichner was either not able to sell on the elements of his property which he wished to sell on, or he was forced to sell on at a dramatically reduced price, which was never in the original business and valuation planning. And as a result, in 2008, November, I think, just 1 year ago, he defaulted on the loan. Deutsche Bank took a deep breath. They said, Jesus, what are we going to do now? This guy can't pay our loan back. We're in it for $300 million and the rest. What would you do? Go to the European Central Bank or the Bundesbank for a bailout and say, Eichner's turned us over? Just say, forget it. Let the money go to waste? Or take the brave decision and say, we think in a long term it's going to be a grand and viable project and we will press on. It's a thing that banks hate to do most of all. They don't understand real estate, they hate to deal with it, and it's their worst nightmare to actually have to repossess for Deutsche Bank with the Eigner property in the same way as it was for HSBC with Marvin Holterman's property. But they took their deep breath and they went for it. Well, it's not going to be finished this year. It was originally scheduled to be finished mid-2009. And up until very recently, perhaps you can see from the previous slide there that it does say opening 2010 up here or something. That was valid until last week when, as part of the side construction for this particular real estate, they managed to hit the aquifer, the water table basically, which runs under Las Vegas, and will now face an additional $100 million bill in terms of waterproofing and tanking and redesigning and rebuilding a substantial amount of the foundations of this building, something which you would think might have been foreseen, but real estate is very easily misunderstood and a very expensive place to make a mistake. To add to their woes, they have had to actually bite the bullet and realise that the $1 billion price tag originally attached to the completed development is, in current market conditions, with current mark-to-market rules under the accounting regulation, not sustainable, and they've had to write $500 million down off the value of the investment as it stands so far. And so they're staring down a very deep well indeed when it comes to finances. And many people say, how is it that these bankers managed to lose money? Is it because they all invested in the wrong sort of derivatives? Well, yes and no. As you can see, they have other problems as well. And with the weight of real estate, both residential and commercial in the global economy, they have, as a result of that, very, very substantial problems indeed. Just to end on a really happy note, let's talk about bank failures, bank crashes, if I may. This is a little graph which I prepared in April of this year, looking at the number of bank failures overall in the United States, the vast majority of which were attributable to lending on real estate projects. Didn't look too bad, as at April 24th, 2009, only 28 banks, or maybe it was 30, had actually failed in the first 4 months of the year. Does anybody know, or is anybody prepared to hazard a guess as to what that figure was on the 10th of November 2009?
120.
That's an extraordinarily good piece of information there. How do you know that?
I just did an answer.
Okay, but it's to the same scale, and from April to November, bank failures, admittedly smaller banks, secondary banks, has gone from here to here, and there is, to my mind, very little sign of seeing that abating in the near future as the exposure goes on and on and on, because real estate itself is a very long-term business, and it's not a simple quick transaction that I will give you the $10 from my pocket. So only one question remains: how does one actually get to the bottom of these issues and solve them? Easy. Look familiar, anybody? Yeah. You want me to give you the sad and sorry story of this building as well? I think we're probably best off saving that one for another day. With that, I would once again like to thank you very sincerely for coming along this evening, and it is my great pleasure to hand you into the tender, loving care of Joe Nellis from